summer of 14, from then, like, it was like April to August or whatever, was kind of skint, right? And then Josh went out in the fall and August, I think all of August, and he would do these shows with like local symphony orchestras, right? So he'd bring his band, but then the whole symphony would play with him, right? So it's kind of a cool thing. So I got called out to do that, to carp that. And it was a smaller run, like we only had 2 trucks, right? It wasn't like this big thing, right? But I do remember a story, and I'm gonna tell this, because it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter what you're doing, musicians are musicians. So I think we're in Bethel, New York, right, at the little shed there. And all of a sudden there's this huge commotion on stage. Now Josh is on stage with his, or maybe Josh isn't there, but our band is definitely there, right? And what we would do is our band would be downstage, and then we put up all this plexiglass, and then the orchestra would be behind, right? The Pops Orchestra or whatever. So there's all this commotion, and I come out, and like, the whole freaking string section has been taken out. The chairs are over, people are like holding their instruments up, they're on the ground. So it turns out one of the string players is freaking, I'm gonna use the term, he's freaking Licarachi drunk, okay? Like falling down, right? Turns out he was like at a wedding earlier or whatever. So he's just tried to come in late, and he's just taking everybody out trying to get to his chair, right? So whatever. So we get him out of there, and then come to find out later, like where he parked his car, right? There was like, you know, parking for whatever, musicians or whatever. He's gone over like the cement curb and through the sign, like just like, nah, you're done, right?
So how much before the show?
This was in the afternoon. It was probably like 4 or whatever,
When did
right?
the show start?
Oh, what, we went on at like what, maybe 8?
Okay.
You know, I mean, it was an evening with, we didn't have a support act or anything, so I'm just gonna say 8 o'clock for you know, it sounds about right? Like 8 to 10, that's right. You know, a bunch of old people showing up, gotta get home, you know, like me, like, I gotta drive after dark, crap. You know, I mean, but it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter, right? It's like, you know, if
Classical musician.
doesn't matter. Musos are musos, right? So there was that, and then a great quote from Josh. So when I did the tour with him in 2013, we were out in the round, but the stage we had wasn't really round, it was an oval shape, right? So, and it was all open, right, in the middle of it. So there's like a walkway that goes around the perimeter of it, and then it's open because like half his band was in the inside on this side, and half his band was over here. And then there was this great, like you stepped up in this walkway that went across the center, and his grand piano was up there, and man, it looked great and everything. And we're in Boise, Idaho. That's where the first show is, and that's where we built the show and everything. And Josh comes in for the first night and looks at it, and he's like, you know, I'm Josh Groban. I'm not Elton John. Like, this is just way too high up for me and all this stuff. So then, I won't say me, because it wasn't me. I was a carp, but I didn't have to come up with a design. The production manager and his team had to figure out, so now we got to blow all this stuff off that's way up here and lower it down. But the other problem you incur is like in this area that's all like soft gooded off, you have like the monitor engineers under there, and the band techs are all under there, right? So now it's gone from like being able to do this to now everybody's doing this because we've scrunched it down. It was a lot of work and logistics, but again, you know, they pulled it off, right? So there you go, the show must go on. But I always remember that. And I have to say this, there's another guy that's just a goddamn good human being. He's one of those guys that knows your name, sees you, hey, Phil, how you doing? You know, just like, there you go, right? And I have to add this to it, thinking about guys like that. So the first time I did the Tonight Show, I never did one with Carson, it was with Jay Leno, it was with Aerosmith in '97, right? And then I think I was back there, I don't know if I was back there in 2000 with Eve 6, or it wasn't until like '05 with the Foos. But I go back, well, when I did it in '97, right, like you don't see it now, but I always wear a bandana, right, always. So I'm in there, and Leno walks in, right, he like parks his, whatever he rode, his jet, I think that day it was his jet bike he rode in, right, because, you know, he's got all those cars, he would always have something different. He walks in, and he sees me, and he's like, hey, Pirates of the Caribbean, how you doing? You know, whatever, thanks, Jay, that's cool. So the next time I'm there, He walks in, he goes, "Hey, Pirates of the Caribbean, good to see you again." I'm like, son of a bitch, really? Like all the people that come through here, and you remembered Maya? So bless him, right? But like, he's one of those guys that I know he does that. It's not just me, he just remembers, right? Like, but Josh was the same way, just always like, "Hey, Phil, how you?" I don't know. It just makes you feel like, you know what? The guy gives a fuck. I'm not just whatever, you know? So thank you for that. All right, so let's see. We've gotten through, we're into 14. So I do that at the end of 14, and then the beginning of 15 is a little light. It wasn't until March. The same production team, I'm not gonna name names because, you know, they're really good and they might wanna do something like this and they got stories to tell and I don't wanna step on them. So we do this act, it was like the end of March 2015, we start this act called Florence and the Machine. And so we get into that. And then that goes from 15 into 16. And then we're in Europe.
What were you doing with Florence?
I was a stage manager. Thankfully, since 2011, when I started, with the exception of doing the Groban thing, because they already had a stage manager, Albert, I was stage managing everything. Like when I do Groban, I go back to being a carp. But otherwise, I was stage managing the Peppers, and then now moving on to Florence. So I get to Florence. And again, I gotta move for a minute.
Yeah. You want to take a break?
No. How much time we got left? Are we close or?
Well, let's see. We've got 10 minutes left.
All right, I can get through 10 minutes. All right, so we're building the Florence thing in San Bernardino, California. And we're gonna start the first real gig at Coachella, right? No, she's not headlining. I think it was Drake was headlining, right? But she's going on right before the headliner. So it's pretty far up the bill. So this is 2015. So we're building the show there, and they had this thing that the gag on this was what was called the kinetic wall. So it was these little tiles. I want to say they were like 2 by 2 or 1.5 by 1.5 or whatever. And there was like, I think 40,000 of them, right? But they were on a hinge, so they would like move. So if you blew air on them, they would move, and it was like a reflective thing, so with lights. I mean, you know, it was a cool gag, right? Like, so what they did is they landed, when you'd hang them, right, when they'd come in, they would like do this on top of each other, right? Because the super genius who built them invented a hinge that would take the weight, right? It wouldn't crush the tiles. So when the tiles came down face to face, the hinge held him. And I mean, I think he patented it. I hope he did, but he's a really smart guy. He actually lives here in San Antonio. So we toured these, right? So now we got to go to Coachella and we got to deploy all this. We got to get the act on before us and deploy all this in 30 minutes. That's all you get, right? So we got to hang all this. We got to put it together, build it, right? So we didn't really have it down when we left, right? But we had to go do some warm-up shows. We were going up to Frisco. We're playing the Masonic Hall. And then I think that was the only 2 we did, and then we're going to Coachella, right? So the rest of the carp stayed, and they worked on this to get it so it would work better. It was like really stiff when it came in, like there wasn't a lot of tolerances, which is fine. That's, you know, he built it to work, but whatever. So we do those shows, we come back, we go to Coachella, the first one, or Coachella or whatever. God, now I'm even like, oh, what do I say? So we do that, we get there, first show. There was a DJ that went on before us, and I can't remember what the DJ was, but they were not set up to get off quickly, right? And so my boss, the production manager, he's out there with us, and it got to the point where we had to get him off. He literally started at one end of the truss and just grabbed all this cable off of it, and it's like stacking up on his arm. And their guy was like, really? That's what you're doing? He's like, yeah, really. Like, you need to get your shit the fuck off here. Like, be prepared. That's why we went in and did production rehearsals and we're prepared, right? So we get it off.
So start again with that.
Yeah.
My mind went.
Okay, so you've got an act that goes on before you. In this case, it was a DJ. I don't remember his name.
DJ.
A DJ, right? But he's got all this stuff. You know how it is. I mean, my God, those electronic productions are bigger than, like, rock bands, right? It's massive for one guy, right? So whatever. So we're just basically having to be dicks and get this shit off because we got to deploy all this shit, right? It's like everybody knew. Everybody was in the loop. So we get it all done. We get the band out. They're kicking ass. And she performs barefoot, and she breaks her foot, right? So now we're supposed to just go and, have a leisurely week or whatever. We're going to come back next week and do it because Coachella now is 2 weeks, right, in a row. No, we're not doing that now. No, what we're doing is we're rebuilding the whole friggin' show, right? So we had one show we were doing at the Ace Theater in LA, I want to say on like Thursday, right? That was always going to be there. So what they want to do now is they want like all these like string players and basically an orchestra downstage of Florence, right? Because she's going to be like, hobbling around and sitting. And so they want to add this extra gag, okay? So, well, you're in the town to get those people, right? The problem is that like she wants them all to be women and she wants those performers to actually play. Like we've got a bunch of other people that are just basically like putting asses in seats and looking like they're doing it, but the strings, right? Because then we were going to do this at the Ace Theater before we get there, right? So trying to find people, right, in that short time period. I mean, like the production manager, God bless him, like, I mean, he pulled in every favor he need, and called up people that thankfully he knew and I knew and whatnot, and made suggestions. Like the MD for Josh Groban, I'm sorry, dude, I can't think of your name. He's another wonderful human being. He helped us out a lot. He's like, wait, hang on, call this person because this person is going to know. And we get them all in, and we do the show at the Ace, and we get through that. It works, and we get all these people out to Coachella, and we pull this off, right, on top of what we've got to do already, right? And it just goes to show you don't know, right? So that's how we started everything, right? And from there, I don't know if we started in Europe. I don't know what we did. We did a bunch of festivals in Europe, I think. And then we started the tour proper in Europe because we did production rehearsals in again, I can't think of it. Damn it. I'm so sorry. People are going to be like, really, motherfucker? You can't remember my name? Fuck you. But I can't remember. But anyway, we did the tour prep and all that in the UK, this wonderful place. With this wonderful gentleman, Bullet. And I'm sorry, I can't remember your venue. Whatever, you can yell at me later. So we built it all there. We start in Europe. And we, go through Europe, come to the US. So that's the end of 15, I think. 16, we're doing more of the same. We're back in Europe. And I think it was March. And the Peppers are like, you need to come back to go to work for us. We're going to do rehearsals. We need you to come in. So I left as stage manager.
What year is it?
This is 16, okay. Right? I left as stage manager, and one of the Carps, an upstate New York boy who I'd gotten a job with the Peppers in 11, Yogi, he steps in. So everything's covered. So I go and we rehearse, and we start 16, and we're going to come back. We're going to do festivals first. And then we're going to build the whole show, right? Well, by this point, I have been having problems since it started in like 07, right? With like limping and all that, right? So I'm thinking it's my knees. So I finally find out it's my hip. My left hip is just shot, right? So I was going to try to schedule it so I could get the surgery and I really wouldn't miss much work, but it got to be the point where when we were in Europe, in, I want to say June, because I wasn't originally going to stop work until like July and get surgery, and I'd miss a little bit, but like the production manager's like, mate, you just got to you're done. Like, I can't watch you do this to yourself, right? Because it was just agony, right? I couldn't walk. I'm like, whatever. So I left early, so I missed the leg, and they went to Korea and Japan, and I missed that. And I got my surgery in July of 2016. And then I was supposed to be, just 8 weeks of recovery. It ended up being 10 because I had some complications, right? So I didn't get back with him again until I think it was September. My good friend and comrade in arms, Cliff Sharpling, came in, right? As he was like, I can't really call him a second stage manager because I guess you'd have to say, because I was the guy that in the end, it was going to be my ass was going to be on the fire, not him. But Cliff is an amazing stage manager, amazing whatever he does, right? Human being. So he was covering me, and then we tag teamed it from then on because it was a pretty big build. We had all this stuff that was building on the floor. We had all these, if you saw that tour, all these nano winches, right? So we had 1,200 winches that we would hang on a grid that started from the very upstage, right, and went out to the scoreboard, right? And they would move independently of each other, and they had LED on the end of them, so you could actually run low-res video on it. You could do colors. You could do, like, you know, the wave, like an ocean, or you could do whatever you wanted, right? It was just a matter of programming. So God bless Cliff. He was out there, and he ran the show and was stage managing. And I came back in September of 16, and then we did that through till the end of like 2017. We did some.
Who was it?
Peppers.
It was Peppers.
Peppers, chili peppers. So we did that into 18 in like South America or whatever, right? And then I was going to go get my other hip done, right? Because there was going to be some time between them and when Florence started up. Well, then Florence decided to start early. So I, instead of getting my hip done,
1 minute.
I went right to Florence. Let's just end it there,
Okay.
because then I can start from 2018 with Florence.
Good job, Phil.
Thank you.